So I've been getting asked to talk about my life. Recently, I just was on a podcast that will be released this weekend where I talk about my life. Yet, there's a lot of details that I wasn't able to get into. And doing the talking and reminiscing and going through all those times in my brain, I was able to unlock a lot of memories and feelings and emotions that I want to share with y'all. Now, during the podcast, I remember the guy, he was telling me, his name's Matthew Cox. If you don't know who he is, go check out his page. That he's never really had anyone like me on his show before. And as I started to get into detail about my life and certain violent and just bad situations, he said, your eyes went dark and you can just see you're there mentally. I've never seen anything like that. And then you snap out of it and you're just back to the regular, respectful, nice, intelligent man. So look for it this weekend. So to get into the beginning, you would have to start when I was a child. I didn't grow up in a poverty area, My problem was the opposite. I was in a regular suburban area, but in my home, it was chaos. I didn't know at the time why I was so mad and angry. I had so much hate in my heart that fueled my rage that would eventually have me grow up in the system of Florida. At the young age of 7, I witnessed my mom, who was battling depression, overdose. She lived, but at that time, nobody really understood mental health. And my father was dying of kidney disease. And when the cops came in the house, pointed a gun in my head, my sister and I crying together in my father's office, they took her away. What did they do? They sent me to school the next day. That's the type of world I lived in, where we don't talk about problems. Nothing happened, right? You didn't get hurt, you're fine. So I remember going to school, and that's where everything changed. I went from, seeking just regular kids to thinking I can never be friends with none of these kids. They all have like the Brady Bunch life. And I started getting in fights. I started acting out. And eventually, as I got older and into high school, I was into combat sports, wrestling, football, had a good GPA, 3.7. But the kids I played sports with, I never wanted them to come to my house. Even though I had a decent house, I didn't want them to see my mom. I didn't want them to see what I had to see every day because I was so embarrassed. Because at that age, I felt like they don't have this. Nobody has this. So I seeked out people that had similar broken homes as me. And that's when I ran into one of my best friends, Chance. At that time, he was part of an organization that was robbing drug dealers. We were 15 years old. The way we met was in school. We both were kicked out of lunch for fighting. And he told me, he said, "What's up, bro? I heard you rob drug dealers." I said, "Yeah, I heard you do too." He said, "Come hang out with us." And that was my journey in organized crime. What they had us do at 15 was they would set up dudes, have us collect money or collect money for other people and just keep it. Have strippers, set these dudes up, whether they were home or not. And, we'd run down on them, or we would just break into their shit and take everything. We never hurt civilians or anything like that. It was always dirtbag on dirtbag crime. Regardless, it was wrong. I had so much hate and rage. I mean, they would drop us off, the older dudes, and I felt like this was love. I felt like I was finally understood. I had a place to let my rage out. I was accepted. I wasn't embarrassed anymore. But the reality was I was just digging myself deeper in a grave that would take me over 15 years to climb out of. They would take Chance and I to different spots and have us fight bare knuckle. I didn't know how to fight back then. I was scared to death. But I just put my head down and swang. Gambling on us, laughing, telling me, "You don't have no brothers. We're your brothers now." And I would just fight and just kicking in doors, home invasions. And I got arrested for a burglary on a drug dealer. See, just because you rob drug dealers, you're still kicking in doors, you're still on property, you're still going in, causing violence. And I was in the detention center for juveniles. So while I was on house arrest, Chance and I came up with a great idea. There's a dude that wants to buy about 5 pounds of some green leaves. So while I was on house arrest, I decided that we were going to rob this dude when he got into my house with a kitchen knife. I had a very unsupervised childhood. Nobody was home. And if they were sleeping or they were too sick to even notice. And my parents were good. They were nice, but they were battling their own demons. And I had misplaced rage and hate. And I didn't come from a generation where you talk to people. If you did, you were weak. So anyway, we have the dude come to the house, walk him in. He thinks he's gonna get it from us. We pull out the knife, we rob him for everything he had, money-wise, to buy the green leaves. We tell him he leave or it's gonna be a problem. I'm 15 on house arrest. He immediately leaves, calls the police, and makes up a lie, kind of a lie, saying we took his cell phone, which we didn't. What we did was, when we took all his money that he came to buy the green from, we grabbed his phone and threw it in the lake. And ultimately they came, surrounded my house at 15 and arrested me for armed robbery. My friend Chance at the time, he said, bro, let's go, cut off your monitor. I said, nah, man, I'm all right, bro. It's a drug dealer. What are they gonna do? This was my introduction to manhood. This is where they charged me as an adult. I was direct filed, put on the 12th floor in gun club, where all these youngsters under the age of 18, murderers, armed robbers, rapists, kids, man. We all kids. When I tell you we're young kids, literally, it was just so much chaos. You got guys that are in there fighting and beating the shit out of each other and crying at the same time because we just don't understand why we're so angry, so much hate. And what did the officers do? They know that they're our only male figure. They take advantage of that. They put us in the cell, have us fight each other. And at that time, I didn't know how to really fight. I mean, I was tough, but I wasn't jail tough. I wasn't these youngsters that have been state raised tough. And they had me fight every day, test the heart check, line it up, getting jumped every day. They said, where you from? From Boca. Oh, you're a white boy from Boca? Tighten up. Get in the cell. Fight. Or fight nights. And the officers were making us fight. And then it was us against the officers. We'd flood the toilets. 15. I get sentenced to a level 8 program. I get out right before I turn 18. Well, now I'm a whole different animal. I'm not that young kid just trying to, do this stuff and get adrenaline rush and make friends. Misguided, just learning. And no, now I'm stone cold with it. I feel like I'm this misplaced ego. I feel like now I'm that dude. And as I immediately jump back into crime, as my friends were waiting on me, you have to understand, we weren't robbing just people anymore, drug dealers like that. They were getting more serious. And when you rob more serious drug dealers, consequences come. I had my house shot up. We were in shootouts. I had got stabbed up. I had friends of mine beat half to death. And things took a really dark turn when my brother, my best friend, Mark, who was part of our posse, man, we were like Tombstone, Doc Holliday, Revenge Tour. One day he lost it. I don't know what happened. He emptied the clip at all of us, didn't hit us. Then he ran, ultimately took his own life. He was living with me at the time. I felt a lot of guilt and rage. But as a young man with no guidance, I didn't know how to deal with it properly. So I went on another robbing spree. End up hitting a pretty big score. Most money I ever seen at that age. And we thought we were big shots. We got all the girls there. We're splurging at this bar. And just like we set so many others up, we get set up. While I'm buying this bartender chick, all this stuff, these girls stuff, they're calling the dudes we robbed. I walk outside, and as I do, dude says something to me. I think, like, what? I think it's just gonna be a bar fight. We start fighting, Chance starts fighting, chairs are flying, people are getting their heads busted, brass knuckles, it's getting wild. Everybody's bloody, bruised, beaten, everything's broken. They're calling the cops. So I get in my car to drive away. As I put the car in reverse, this guy starts hitting my window with some chair or something. And I'm like, bro, it's just a bar fight. And he's like saying, give me. Is this guy stupid? I had no idea still why he was doing this. So I pull out a knife, I put it to his throat. I immediately put some pressure on it and said, listen, bro, It's just a bar fight.